Hey everyone, quick video here to talk about your modulation homeworks that are labeled number 4 and 5. These are our sort of harder version modulation homeworks. We're getting a little bit further through the concept, right? So expect things to get a little bit more, I hesitate to say tricky, but closer to reality, I think, in these, that it's not going to be so clear cut and dry about is there a modulation. And notice that the way that you're going to be reading some of the words on here, it may lead you to believe that there's more than one answer, which there very well may be, because we're getting closer to reality, right? We're getting closer to music that can just do anything, right? It doesn't have to do any specific thing, but you're going to use your language to try to explain it. So yeah, that's my that's my warning about the homework. So this first one here, yet another modulation homework. You're going to analyze this piece, this Beethoven Romance in G major. Remember, make sure you're listening to these. If any of these links ever don't work, just let me know, but make sure that you're listening, because it should be helping your ear quite a bit. You can listen, see if there's a modulation. If you believe there is, go back and see what key you started in, and then play it again, and then try and sing do. What are you singing? This is the 108 like oral skill stuff folding into the class, right? If you're singing something other than where you started, then you probably modulate it, and then just figure out what that note is. Grab your keyboard app or your piano or whatever, your instrument, find that pitch, and then let that drive your sort of theoretical understanding. Does it make sense given accidentals or cadences that pitch is now home, that pitch is tonic? Okay, so make sure you're doing that. For this one, clearly indicate the modulation with a pivot chord. There is one chord you cannot analyze. Ooh, exciting. See if you can find that one. It should be a little bit, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like particularly coy or, I don't know, sneaky with these sorts of things, but I do think it's important to leave things like that in the homework. So go and try and find it. See if you can't analyze it. And yeah, just put a little question mark or a smiley face by it. Cool. Backside, 2 pages. You're going to get some Bach back here, a little bit more, like I said, opaque, kind of chromatic Bach. Measures 4 to 9. This piece may modulate. If you believe it does, indicate the modulation using a pivot chord. Okay. Again, make sure you listen to the recording, and then do analyzing the harmony and embellishing tones. I know a number of you have asked if you need to do embellishing tones when you do these analyses. My response is always do what the homework says, because sometimes I have you do it, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends on what else is on the homework. You basically have to kind of do it every time, because you need to find the non-chord tones to do the harmonic analysis. But I'm not going to explicitly make you label like every passing tone in every homework. I think that's just a little bit too much. But for this one, yeah, I think you should. There aren't that many. So just go ahead and label those. Okay, so that's good. The other one you're going to do is this one. Let me pull it up here. It's modulation homework number 5. And this one's actually made by Professor Schimmel, so it looks a little bit different than mine. So a couple of things to note. One, on page 2, there's a part writing. It's extra credit. So the reason is because he's presenting it in a way that I haven't presented part writing to you before. It's a very valid way to do it. It's just kind of a different approach. And I want you to try it, like give it a shot, especially if you're needing extra credit for the class. But just know that I'm not trying to like throw something completely random at you. These are your recordings right here. They're not linked, but they're embedded here. And then let's take a look really fast here. This is the Mozart one. Analyze and label all chord tones, non-chord tones, or embellishing codes and modulations. You don't have to do the grace notes. So that does give you a hint that some of the grace notes may imply a type of harmony, but you don't need to analyze them. And the final cadence is not 1. Ooh, that's exciting. So yeah, it does modulate, but it doesn't end on 1, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's also very slow. So I think you can get away with a harmonic rhythm that's pretty slow. I think a lot of times maybe 2 beats, sometimes it'll be 1 beat, sometimes it might be 1 beat and then change like that. Again, sort of listen to the piece and listen where you hear the harmonic changes happening. Okay. So I want to leave it that vague because I think you're getting to the point where as music theorists and analyzers, that you can do that. You can look at this and listen and think, okay, where Where do I see the harmony changing, like visually, but then bringing in your ears to say, okay, I didn't hear a chord change there. And that's the marriage of the two classes that you've been taking, oral skills and theory. Okay, so that's page 1. Page 2, important event. Again, really, really straightforward Schumann short little thing, but a lot of grammaticism. You're in the key of A. But does it stay in the key of A is the question, right? So this can be analyzed using 1 modulations, 2 modulations, or no modulations. And then there's a strong cadence in the middle of the excerpt and another strong cadence at the end, but the cadences are in different keys. Do a Roman numeral analysis using at least 1 pivot chord modulation, label all chords and non-chord tones. So it could be analyzed using no modulations, but we want you to do a Roman numeral analysis using at least 1 pivot chord modulation because we're forcing you to modulate. Though, like maybe consider as you're listening to it if that's necessarily what you're hearing. Okay, and this last part, this is the part writing. The reason I'm not requiring you to do this, so I'm encouraging you to do it by giving you extra credit, is that I'm not, like Professor Schimmel and myself are not giving you anything, right? You have to create the part writing yourself. So you have to write the Roman numerals, you have to write all of your voices, you have to make the grand staff, right? It's all there for you. Normally, right, I usually like give you some sort of Roman numeral like analysis, right? But here you get nothing. So you have to make it up yourself, which is kind of exciting. So what he says is use 2 phrases. The first must firmly establish C major and ending in a PAC and C. And the second must move to D minor and include a PAC in that key. Each phrase is 4 chords. Okay, so you're going to have ba, 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 pause, ba, 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 ba. Do not use the same Roman numeral twice in a row. So you can't just go 1, 1, 1, 5 like that, right? Label all your Roman numerals. Remember to analyze your pivot chord in both C and D minor, right? That's where it's shifting. And keep in mind the phrase model and use only basic root progressions. A cadential 6/4 be fine as a substitute for the cadence. So the phrase model, if you remember back to 101, I don't know if I've talked about it in 102 at all, if we did at the beginning of the semester or not, but the phrase model, right, is that tonic, predominant, dominant, pause, and then some sort of tonic, predominant, dominant, dominant, pause, tonic, like that, right? This is what we call the basic phrase model. That you need those chords, right, to make music make sense. You can't just write 1, 3, 3, 1, 6, 2. Like that's not going to make sense. You have to have a tonic chord, and then you could have something. And this was what we were talking about last semester when we talked about expansion. Those are like the passing 6/4 chords, passing 7 diminished 6 chords, stuff like that. If you vaguely ringing a bell. I know things were a little bit odd last semester in March and April, but that's when we were talking about that. But then you need some sort of like 2 and then a 5 to have a cadence, right? And then you need some sort of tonic. It could even be a 6. It could be a substitution chord. It could be 6 or 3, right? Substitute, and then some sort of predominant, dominant tonic. Except if there's going to be a modulation, we need to be able to move from C to D. So you have to think about what is the difference between those 2 keys, right? Well, a really easy way to do it, probably the most logical way, is to do in the key of C, have some sort of 5/7 of whatever D is, right? And pivot that way. And I'll leave it at that, right? You guys can figure it out, like how you want to do that. But I think it's really interesting. And I will give you extra credit if you do it. Take a stab at it. I think it's a good way to be thinking about it. And maybe in the future, I'll incorporate some more of these sort of things and walk you through it more objectively. But yeah, that's it. So let me know if you have questions. Those 2 assignments, number 4 and 5. Like I said, these are, I don't want to say they're your last modulation assignments, but they may be the last ones where we specifically objectify it. Okay, you've had 5 homework assignments at this point on just modulation. We will be obviously analyzing modulations, but we're going to do them in the context of understanding formal structures when we talk about binaries and ternaries, rounded binaries, compound ternaries, all that kind of stuff, which is coming up in a couple weeks. So it's not going away, I guess is what I'm saying. But it may not be that you do homework where it's just focused on modulating. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and hope you have a good rest of your day.